PRMX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am your host, co-host, Kellen Brauer, alongside Phillips. Detroit gone and dusted behind us, round 6 of the championship, 250 East, 2 rounds in. And me and Big Lou just walking around Detroit. No Steve Mathis this weekend. It was kind of our world, and everyone was just living in it, Lewis.
I've never heard the phrase gone and dusted before, but maybe it will catch on. Yeah, Detroit was very mellow, but nice, because the Tampa press box was maybe a little bit too much.
Okay, but do you prefer overly mellow or overly dramatic then?
I wouldn't say Detroit was overly mellow, was it?
It's pretty mellow.
Yeah, I guess. It depends on my mood.
But no, it was cold weekend. I know that you're from the UK, but have you dealt with snow a lot? Like, is this...
No, never dealt with snow like that, and never dealt with temperatures like that. Celsius-wise, for the international listeners, it was -11. And the most it'll ever get down to in England is like, or where I was from, was like -4 early in the morning. But normally it was above freezing in the daytime. So, all new experience. It was actually quite cool because we didn't have to spend much time in it. It's quite cool. Don't know, different vibe.
Yeah, well, did you like driving to the airport on Sunday morning?
I like that. I like adding a little bit of risk. It makes it a bit more fun. Like, I don't know, I like that. It really makes it like, here we go kind of vibe.
For those that don't know, it snowed a decent amount Saturday. Not that bad by the end of the day, but then Sunday morning, it was definitely snowing in the morning. And yeah, the roads are not very clear.
Yeah, I went to the airport at 3 a.m. as well, so they weren't... they hadn't been salted or cleared at all, so it was full. Like, coming into some lanes to get off the main road or whatever, it was literally just snow and ice.
Yeah, and you're just guessing where the lanes are.
I had a legit handbrake.
Oh.
And I had to fight my urge so bad. Like, I so badly just wanted to give it a little go somewhere in like an empty parking lot or something. But
Lewis, the rally driver, huh?
It's interesting, isn't it? You don't get that opportunity much.
No.
But yeah, you know what, Kellen? Yeah, I do fancy myself a little bit of a rally driver.
There you go. Well, you fancy yourself a little bit of snow on the weekend as well. Very cold, but very fun inside of the stadium at Detroit this weekend. Yeah, I mean, it was a wild night. We're going to get into a lot of these topics, but do you feel like, having gone through what we saw at Detroit, that in reality, like, this championship, both sides is actually still pretty fun? Because, like, I feel like there's a lot of this negativity going around from people on Twitter. They're like, oh, woe is me, Jet and Tomac out, and then we're already down to a 3 or 2 horse race in 250s. But I feel like this is pretty cool so far.
Yes. Well, first of all, to disagree with you and be negative, you said it was a lot of fun in the stadium, but up until effectively the 250 red flag, it was a dull day. There wasn't much going on. Qualifying heat races were all fairly mellow. So call a spade, but you're right. After the insane negativity all week, what happened from the 250 red flag on really did a lot to kind of inject some excitement back into the series and silence the naysayers.
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 really cool championships shaping up here. I mean, the 450 series is tied. Like, 6 rounds in, I think we should be happy about that, no matter who it is in the title fight. So I think that people need to calm down a little bit with the negativity. We were too abrupt with all the injuries to be upset about this series, but I think we're going to have a really fun last 11 rounds of this championship.
Sure.
You sound really excited about it, Lewis. Very, very thrilled. Okay, let's get into our topics and dive in on some of this stuff. Before we do, big thanks, of course, Leatt, Namura, Racetech, Partzilla. We'll tell you guys all about them throughout the show. Before we jump in, though, big shout out to Leatt for being title sponsor of this show. At Leatt, protection is our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive line product offering protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. And thank you so much, Leatt, again, for supporting the show. All right, topic number one for me today, Lewis. Let's just get into this red flag situation. People are pissed. The tweets were flowing on Saturday night in many different directions. I think the general gist was that everyone was kind of confused. And I think that what didn't help was at Tampa, the TV graphic displayed the 90% rule. You and I both had Mike Pelletier come and talk to us after the race. He explained that the 90% rule is gone. Like it hasn't existed for over a year at this point, and everyone should have known that in the rule book. And I know that a lot of the riders didn't know that, but I guess now that we've had a little bit of hindsight from this and we've cooled down 36 hours on, what's your take on this rule? Like, is this a rule that makes sense, or should we more think about what the riders are saying? Because everyone seemed to be pretty pissed off this is even a rule in the first place.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to clarify 2 points. One, the AMA did exactly as they were supposed to do. They followed the rule book to a T. There was no emotional judgment or anything like that, which, as you say, in the moment, we all expected it to be cancelled or called a result. And I think a lot of people suspected that the AMA had just kind of made stuff up as they went along. But that was not the case. The 90% rule hasn't existed, as you said. And to that point, every rider I spoke to after the race was not aware that the 90% rule was scrapped. And seeing as it's been in the rule book, I have to go against the riders and teams, or the teams, I guess, specifically, that they should be up to date on that and educating the riders. Yes, it didn't help that it was on TV last week. That certainly confused me because I wasn't aware. But yeah, there is definitely, I don't know if the AMA could do more potentially to make this clearer. Maybe you mention it in riders meeting every week. I don't know. But then at that point, when does it get old? But the AMA did follow the rules to a T, and full credit to Mike Pelletier for coming and talking to us at our request, especially when he seemed very busy. I don't know what was going on, but he seemed very, very busy, and like he did not have the time to talk to us, but he still made the time to talk to us.
Yeah. And I think honestly, like, and I'll take like a bit of the fall here as well. As much as the TV broadcast doesn't look good, like you said, I think we were both kind of unaware of the rule change as well. In real time, as this was going on, I look back at some of the tweets that I had, and I feel like I should have maybe done a little bit more research, because I was like, I don't know how many laps are left, but then people were pointing out the 3-lap rule, and we thought the 90% rule was here, obviously the TV thing, and we should know that too. Like, we should be a little bit more upfront, because I think that also stirred some of the confusion from people. But yeah, like you're right. They followed the rule. They did what they were supposed to do. Now, again, what I want to go from beyond this, though, is the rider reaction post-race seems to be overwhelmingly unanimous that this is a dumb rule. So is this something where the riders should now, next riders meeting or even before, go to the AMA and say, like, we need to rethink this? Like, maybe not an amendment this year, but can we go back to the 90% rule? Can we think of a different rule that's better? Like, is this something the riders should get on the same page with?
Yeah, I think it's clear now that a rule change is needed. I do agree with the AMA that the 90% rule was maybe not clear enough and could have been open to interpretation and potentially cause some bother. So I do understand and somewhat support why the 90% rule went away, but clear that perhaps this new ruling is not the most positive direction. I mean, with all due respect, Max Anstey doesn't exactly have the greatest fan base, or he's not like loved unanimously. And for it to have this sort of reaction says it all. Imagine if this is Chase and Webb for the championship with 2 rounds to go, or even the last round. For it to prompt this much outrage when it's only the 250 main event without a championship on the line, and Max Anstey, again, who doesn't exactly have the greatest fan base in the sport, I think that tells you that this isn't perhaps the greatest course of action.
Yeah, well, 2 things with this. First of all, I guess we haven't really explained the rule. The rule is if the red flag is displayed before time expires, which there was still 7 seconds on the clock, and I'll explain some more about that in just a second, but 7 seconds still on the clock. If the red flag is way before time expired, it is a staggered restart. That is by the rule. It is more than 3 laps, right, into the race. But
yes,
before time expires, it is a staggered restart. And then on top of that, there's also a rule, I think in the same section, that says any restart of any kind needs to be at least 3 laps. And of course, they're probably all going to be staggered restarts because I don't think that they would fully restart like a heat race halfway through. Yeah, so it'd be staggered restarts need to be at least 3 laps. So that's what the rule that they followed. As an extension of what you just said about it not being Chase or Webb or something like that, you do remember, though, Budds Creek 2023 Moto 1 of the 250s, Hayden Deegan got himself a nice, comfortable lead. And then the red flag came out right at halfway. But it was at like 15:36 on the clock instead of less than 15 minutes, which constituted a full restart of the race with the time that was remaining on the clock. And then Deegan went down the first corner and people were pissed back then. So this is not the first time we've seen this situation where the rule book, the way it's written specifically gets this kind of situation. And then people are pissed off about and Deegan's much more of a fan, has more fan bases than Max Anstey. So we've seen this before. You know what I mean? Like fans get up in arms about this, no matter who it is. But even Deegan, of course, then there was even more raw reaction. And back then they changed the rule book again. So now it doesn't reflect this halfway distance. And then they staggered restarted as well outdoors.
I think Max's is even more heartbreaking just because with the Deegan situation, there was still enough time to go where anything could happen. Whereas Max was already in cruise, bring it home mode. That was clear.
Yeah.
So the race was done. Anyone who has any idea about Supercross, motocross racing could see that race was over and the result was pretty much clear. So, yeah. The fun stuff, though, what changes would you make? And here we go. So, I have kept this opinion to myself because I feel like it's dumb. But last night, I plucked up the courage. Max messaged me last night and said, what do you think I should have done differently after the staggered restart? And I finally plucked up the courage to say what I think about the staggered restart. And that is, I think the rider in second has an advantage because they carry more momentum into the first turn and therefore the first section with roll speed and whatnot. Felt like that was dumb. Max actually agreed with me and said it was a good point. So now I'm ready to speak my truth. So not only that is a disadvantage for the rider out front, but also, of course, what can you do? In Max's case, if he had protected the inside, then Kitchen just would have swept around the outside, gone offensive to his defensive, and capitalized in that way. If Max had just ridden his normal race, which is kind of what he did, then Kitchen goes offensive, and there you go. There's almost you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in the case of the rider who starts first after a staggered restart. So I think the emphasis here should be on giving the rider out front some sort of advantage. And this is what I came up with.
Okay.
I like this idea. Similar to F1, we stagger them up, we let them go as normal, but that first lap is effectively a sighting lap. Wheels on the ground, waved yellows everywhere, sure. Wheels on the ground, no passing. And that would have helped Max because he didn't go to the inside in the sand because he had not used that all race, didn't know what it was like, didn't have a chance to even see. It was certainly in his mind. He said that he radioed to the team and said, where do I go in the sand? So obviously he knew that was a vulnerable position. If we do this, it helps the leader figure out their strategy a little bit more and also add strategy into the situation because you can dictate the pace a little bit. You can decide when you're going to go, maybe do a little false start, and then it gives the leader some sort of advantage over the rest of the field. Okay. Something, which I think is the priority here in my mind. We need to give the leader some sort of advantage, step up, control over the situation.
Okay. Do you want my thoughts now?
Sure.
I like your idea.
Thank you.
I have thought about that in the past too. Where I struggle with it a little bit is in that situation. I think that there is the odd chance that someone falls rolling around because they're trying to either predict, especially with the sand corner being right before the finish line. they're trying to predict when that rider is going to go, and then they like react to the rider going in front of them, and they knife the front end and fall. So then we have like dumb situations like that happen, and then people are like, "Oh, he got screwed because he was trying to react," and whatever.
No, that's dumb.
Let
me jump in. That's dumb. And if a rider is dumb enough to crash on a roll lap, then screw them for being dumb. Like can all, as a collective, we can all look and go, "What an idiot!" Ha.
Yeah. But can I tell you what I think they should do instead?
Yep. Just wanted to make sure that you know that is dumb.
I know. I agree it's dumb, but I do think that it could happen genuinely.
Okay. I know, but it's dumb. Like, who cares? You fell over. You're an idiot.
Okay. My suggestion is, why the hell in qualifying do they make a point to do the you go when we never use it? This is a perfect opportunity for that. Line them up similar to that. Maybe even do that like they have it for staggered starts right now. But instead of green flag and everyone's off, Max, you go. 2 seconds, Levi, you go. Like, break it up a little bit so that, like, maybe not 2 seconds, a second or something like that. But like down and go, which is what they do in qualifying for these guys. They line them up in a line. And I think that this is the redesign that they have for outdoor stagger starts, because they can't put 40 guys on a start straight in a single line. So they are doing this method instead for outdoors. Maybe you can't do it in Supercross, but line them up staggered start and block, go, because then you create a gap for everyone just slightly. Max gets a second on Levi to regroup, whatever, catch himself. And maybe Levi still does catch him and actually win this race. But at least there's something instead of, like you said, right on him with more momentum coming out of the first corner.
I agree with that at first, and I think there is some merit to it. But I also think it does open up more grey area, because then at that point, you're going to have someone say, he moved quicker between rider A and rider B, and he took longer between the rider next to me and the rider on the other side of me, and it would open up a lot of nitpicking from that perspective. Whereas I think my idea, it's down to the riders. Similar to your objection, if a rider crashes, you're an idiot. We had nothing to do with that. You're an idiot. Like, if they let the riders go, in my idea, that AMA has effectively lost all responsibility, which is good, and you guys figure it out. I think your idea, at first I was on board, but then the more I thought about it, I do think there's an opportunity for criticism and protest and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I do actually want to bring up one more thing with this whole situation, which is the 90% rule. And the 90% rule, my interpretation of it was 90% of time being completed, right? So in a 15-minute main event, whatever 90% of 15 is, I'm guessing it's somewhere around 14 minutes and 15 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
But you could also interpret it as 90% of the total race distance. And let's say in this 250 main, they did 17 laps. Well, 16 laps of 17 is less than 90% by my math. So technically the 90% rule still kind of exists with this ruling. It's just dumb that it does. You know what I mean? So I think that, I don't know that the rule itself changing is like the worst thing ever, because I think that they were still pretty much in the same wheelhouse. Like, we landed in this weird 45-second window where this new ruling actually comes into play. Otherwise, it would have just, in the past, 14 minutes had gone and the race is over. In this case, it was just shy of 15 minutes. So I don't criticize the rule change as much as people really are, but I do think that we need to think of a new rule. If we're going to do late restarts like that, I agree with you. We need to either do some rolling start or staggered start that has gaps. Or just, you make it 75% of the race, which is what F1 does. Race is done,
When I raised this idea on the Vital post-race show, Michael Lindsay critiqued it by saying that in F1, there is a minimum speed which we can't do. So what if a rider goes too slow? Also dumb, because you need momentum to roll the jumps, and effect in this sport, because we have two wheels, and sure, I don't need to explain to you how that works. If you go too slow, you're going to fall over or dab your foot or whatever. So you have to ride a bike, you You have to keep some sort of speed and momentum.
Yeah.
So that's also dumb. I like my idea. I think it works.
I
just like the fact that the leader, like, at least in this case, if this still happens and Anstey still gets passed, at least we can sit here and go, well, maybe he should have played it differently, which I guess we can say still, but I just feel like there is just cause for defense by saying, yeah, he should have got inside in the sand. Well, he didn't do it all race. That would have also been a risk because who knows what's waiting for him there. I did say to him, either on record or off record, I said, if you went inside, do you think Levi could have just swept around the outside and carried so much momentum? And he said no, because he felt like the outside was too blown out for that. But you still never know. And because of the unknown on the inside, maybe you screw it up because you don't know what you're getting yourself into, and then Levi can just poodle around the outside. I also said this to Max in our interview. He was kind of screwed because for 99% of the main event, he was riding around by himself. So he had no idea what the race lines were or what other guys were doing. Like, he said he radioed to the team, as I said, and asked about him what line to use in the sand. And the team said, your outside looked fine. But again, he didn't really race anyone, so who knows how that actually looked in a race situation. So he really was going in blind. Whereas at least I would presume you do my sight lap, rolling lap, whatever idea. I presume he's going to the inside on that roll lap just to see what it's like and then be like, okay, I can do that.
I do like your idea. I think that I like it better outdoors than indoors. For some reason, maybe it's
too long because then the roll lap is too long. The roll lap's going to take forever.
Yeah, but then it's just another sight lap for fans to like watch them roll by and slowly or whatever.
Okay. But why wouldn't you like it in Supercross versus outdoors?
I just think because of like the nature of every. Yes, these guys can roll the lap fine, but then trying to roll in a single file line and not hit someone else and not. When the green flag waves to stay in line as well, because in that situation, Mac's going to get the green flag in the sand and 22nd place is going to be at the exit of the whoops. And like, who's going to jump the triple because now the green flag's waving and you can't pass.
No, Kellen, no. Max doesn't get the green flag in the sand. He gets it on the finish jump.
And but he determines the pace. So he starts rolling in the sand to get going.
Yeah, he can go whatever point, but the point is, and we have the technology for this, you cannot make a pass until you hit the green flag. So
I know that, but still, you're going to have guys that are in 15th place that everyone in front of them is going, like starting to cook towards the finish line. So
the rule is wheels on the ground. So in the case of Detroit, everyone has to roll that triple and can then go for it after the... Was it a triple after the whoops? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to roll that triple, and then they can go for it once there are no more jumps between them and the green flag. Okay. But that's the rule.
Yeah, but just wheels on the ground, there's a double before the finish line jump. So you want to roll the double?
What?
There's a double before the finish line jump. So you want them to roll the double, which then means that maybe... Yeah. Out of the sand, there is a double.
You roll a double then. Yeah, you roll a double. And maybe you can't clear the finish, but you roll the finish as well then. Like, if you can't clear it, or you go for it and maybe you can do it. But the point is, we have a transponder that tells us what position they are when they cross the line. So if you made a pass before you hit the transponder, you're disqualified.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean,
Unless
I do like your idea.
Dumb enough to tip over, then forget them. They're and we don't even care about them.
I do like your idea, and just to the point that ML was making about a minimum speed thing, that's fucking horseshit in moto. I mean, sorry, in Formula One. In Formula One, there's literally the whole concept of backing up the field. I mean, literally, Max brought up Abu Dhabi 2021. Hamilton and Verstappen were crawling to the line. Like barely first gear rolling around. So yeah, I mean, they could do whatever they want. And I think that in Supercross, if that rule came into place, you would see the same thing. But again,
like I said to Max, if it was my rule and they were doing this, I said what I would do if I was you is I'd go into the sand and I would go and then stop and then go again. Because at least then you can place you have some cards that you're holding. Whereas in his situation, apart from track position, what have you really got?
Yeah, but real quick, we're so deep on this topic, but I want to go back to the fact that if we're like 75% into this race, like if the 75% rule, for example, was the thing, I think that this isn't a problem, because you go back to last week, we had 7.5 minutes. Like we're about halfway in the race at Tampa when Brown went over the bars and they red flagged it. And I don't remember anyone crying bloody murder that Anstey, who had 5-6 seconds on Bennick, suddenly had Bennick right on him. Like no one cared because it's halfway through the race. I think it's specifically this deep into the race that people care about. So I think if you just go back to like the 75% rule, then this whole thing's solved.
I've always wondered this, and Max asked me this last night, so he also wondered this. Everyone wonders this. I don't think it's in the rule book. When the green flag waves, can Max just sit there? Obviously not forever, but can he wait 20 seconds before he decides to go? Because every single time we've ever had a staggered start, green flag waves and they just race. But surely the leader, again, not for a ridiculous amount of time, but surely the leader can just sit there and be like, now I go, surprise. Sure, like, I don't think that's in the rule book. And again, if you sit there for a minute when someone's coming up and going, please move, you need to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that, yes, he probably can, because the rule is that you can't pass until you cross that line. Yeah. But I don't know that it would change anything.
What we said is, although you can't pass before the white line, I guess technically Levi could pull level.
Level, yeah.
But that actually would have been what we figured out. That would have actually been more beneficial for Max, because if he had gone on outside of Max level, Max could have then ran him wide in the first turn, disrupted his momentum, and kind of, again, had a bit more control over the situation. Really fascinating if you go into the workings of how a rider is meant to play this.
I mean, Max himself basically said that post-race, he said to us, like, he should have done something different in general. Like, the way that he defended, which is tough to do. Like, you can't blame him. Like, he tried his best to do what he could in the moment, but he said he wished he would have tried a couple different things to defend. So in the end, he took responsibility, blamed himself for losing. But like you said, like, yeah, fans are pissed. Like, this isn't fair that he had such a big lead. He loses it all. And just to, I guess, kind of cap this up real quick, this happens in other motorsports, but it's just unique to us because it very rarely happens. Like NASCAR. It's
also unique to us because, again, the race was done. Like, there was no debate about, similar to Abu Dhabi in 2021, there was no debate about how this was going to play out the rest of the way. It was done.
But F1 does have restarts late. Like, they do have situations, and we just really have not. I just can't remember a race this late. We've never had the 3-lap thing. Like, it just doesn't happen. So
I said this as well. I cannot remember a Supercross where we red flagged it after the 90% rule. I literally cannot remember a red flag coming this late, even with the 90% rule, where we just called for a result.
We've definitely had called results, but I can't remember a specific example.
It must have been a long time.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, it's frustrating for the riders. Obviously, it's frustrating for the fans. But as we said at the beginning, AMA did their job. They called this right. They went by the rule book. If the rule is dumb, sure, but they did what was supposed to be done by the rules. So you can't really complain about it. Like, it was in the rules. The riders didn't see it or whatever, and that's that. So anyway, let's get into our next topic. I don't want to keep just rehashing this over and over again. Very interesting.
How long was that topic?
Probably like 20 minutes, honestly.
Okay, well, you only had 2 anyway, so just...
So let's just do our second one. But before we do that, big thanks to Namura, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2025 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. All right, here's my second topic, Lewis. Cooper Webb catches Ken Roczen late. I think even you said it, maybe, that like we're on for this. Like, we've seen this script play out before.
My exact words were, after the absolute craziness of the end of 250s and Chase hitting a gate and then Chase crashing, we get brought back to reality with the comfort blanket of modern day Supercross, which is Webb passing Roczen right at the end.
Yeah. So we've seen this before. I mean, Webb even alluded to it post race that like he's been in this situation. He says that Kenny learned stuff, picked up on things that he hadn't done before. I think you asked him like anything specific, and he said just like basically like some racecraft things, right? So
he said that he said that he had more fight in him than
more fight. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about with this though is first of all, let's go to Roczen versus Webb. Roczen definitely played this a little bit better, I feel like, than he has in the past, but he still did get beat late. And I still think that Webb absolutely cooked him when it came to race strategy here, because he let Roczen go at the beginning. Like he seemed to have the speed to maybe go get him right away. And then Roczen opened up a bit of a gap in which you could say, yeah, Roczen probably figured some stuff out and opened it up. But then it was like 2 seconds for a little while that Roczen had over Webb. And then Webb just chipped away until he got close. But then he got close and didn't force an issue, like didn't force a pass. Like he there's a few times where he could have maybe like rushed an aggressive move, but didn't. And he waited and he waited and he sat behind him and he kept pushing him and he kept pushing him and made him think about it, and then pounced, dogfight for like a couple laps there. And then by the time Webb actually made a pass stick, he sprinted again. So he played this to perfection, as he should, because he wore Roczen down and then sprinted to get a little bit of a gap to which Roczen could not respond because it was too late. So what I kind of want to talk about with this is in this Roczen versus Webb dynamic specifically, if you're Roczen here, how do you play this differently? Because he tried as hard as he could to get a gap that never came about. Webb ran him down, forced him into, overexerting himself late in the race, and then sprinted late. Like, is there any defense for that, or do we just sing Webb's praises here?
We just sing Webb's praises here, because what Roczen needed was a tricky rhythm section that you have to nail every lap, and then he could execute that every single lap, and that's his linchpin. Yes, of course, it was possible for Roczen to beat Webb in that main event, of course, but yeah. So it was possible, but you just got to give Webb the praise for pulling it off and getting the job done. Like, yeah.
Do you think that this might be a crazy idea? And I know people think I'm stupid, so this will even make it worse.
Oh no!
Is there a world where Roczen like backs into him and maybe lets him go and follows him?
Oh no! Oh, Kellen! Oh, what have you done?
No, like I'll explain that in a second, but I want to hear your initial reaction to it. No world where that happens.
No.
Okay.
No,
so,
especially not in this situation where, like, there's no. I mean, we have seen that in the past in very rare instances, but there's always been more context to it.
It's not very rare though, because, and this is why I wanted to bring it up. If you go back to James versus Ricky, in the first 2 years that they raced each other, who did most of the following?
Ricky.
Yeah. And who won the championships?
Okay, but we're talking about the Detroit main event, not the championship.
I know, but I'm saying in this situation, if Roczen wants to beat someone that's got him on a racecraft level in the past, maybe learn from him. And if you're Ricky, that's what he would do with James. He would follow him, push him, wear him down, make him think about it, pass him late, then win. And then James learned that and used it against Reed all the time.
Okay, look, Kellen, I understand the Ricky James Chad discussion. I get where you're coming from, but Kellen, I'm trying to look after you here because I'm trying to look after you here because I know the comments are being written as we speak.
Yeah,
but it comes down to this. Roczen's not going to force Webb into a mistake like James was known for. Roczen's not going to force Webb into a crash like James was known for. Webb will just be rock solid and hold on. That's the difference here. James was faster. Also, James was faster, which is a difference here.
You don't think Roczen was faster than Webb? Do we want to go look at lap times?
Well, clearly not, because otherwise he would have pulled away. Or clearly not substantial enough.
Okay.
But you just have to think, you're going to put up lap times, but that's irrelevant here because if he was really that much faster, he would have just ridden away.
If James was really that much faster than Ricky, he would have ridden away.
But you're your argument here is too vague because you need to give me a very specific race where that played out, because you're just talking about an error and expecting me to like you just said, well, if James was faster than Ricky, when? Are we talking about Detroit 2005 or Unadilla 2006 or Toronto 2000? Like, I'll
go back and talk about
this argument. You need to have a specific.
Sure. Okay. Ready?
Study.
Here you go. Washougal 2006. Go listen to Ricky talk about this race, or James. They both said,
outdoors
I didn't.
Is different. There's so much time to play with outdoors.
It's the same concept of following, pushing, learning lines too, which Roczen had no idea where Webb was gaining on him because he was in front of him the entire race, right? Both of those guys, though, you go back to the Ricky and James days, both of those guys said, I wanted him to lead. I wanted to push him into the mistake. I wanted to see what lines he was doing. And Roczen even said after this race, it's better to be in second place in that situation.
Yeah, so of course. You could argue the same for Max and Kitchen.
I understand that. So in this situation, I get it. It sounds like a dumb idea, but if Webb gets to you with 7 minutes to go, yeah, maybe he does just pass you and take off. Or maybe he wears you down to the point that you can't fight back by the time he goes by you. I think Roczen did play this very well. I think he tried as hard as he could to defend, and Webb was just simply too much. I'm not criticizing Roczen. I'm saying if you're going to try something different in the future, is this even a possibility?
No, it's only a possibility in very specific race situations where you know you have something in your pocket to get the rider back. And in this case, there was none of that.
Yeah, but I mean,
like, hey, I don't know, like, fuck, he's doing this quad behind me, and I've not done that all day. If I can follow him off the quad, then I know I've got him covered on the rest of the track. Maybe that. I still don't agree with it, but that's at least some sort of context that makes some sense, I guess. I just disagree with it purely from the point of view of if Webb gets ahead, Webb wins. And that happened. That is the case in 99.9%. Now, I understand, to edit your theory slightly, if Webb whole shots and Roczen starts second and Roczen feels he's faster, stay back and don't make the pass immediately? Sure. Learn from him that way? Sure. That makes perfect sense. But to let Webb by and then think you're just going to pass him back is insane. And you're not going to Arlington, so you can't do this, luckily for you. But if you really believe this is true, let's get Steve, who's tight with Kenny, to text Kenny and say, someone, we won't name you, someone thinks that it would have been a smart play for you to let Webb by and learn.
I'm not saying I think it would be a smart play. I'm trying to simply debate whether or not it's a possibility at all.
I just don't know if that's a good look for you, Kellen.
Well, because again, you're overreacting to my point here.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. I'm asking if it's even a viable option. And again, you're an idiot for bringing it up, which is not fair. You're an idiot for bringing up rolling around in the sand and hoping people don't run into each other.
Honestly, Kellen, you're going to eat those words, because I think that probably not only are they going to adopt my rule, they're probably going to get me to do the green flag every time as honor for my ideas.
See, that's where you're over the top. You're over the top with it again.
When they bring me out to do the green flag, I suspect that they'll probably give me my own opening ceremonies video, and they'll probably have you saying that at the start of the video to be like, everyone doubted him, and here he is with a green flag. Look at him now.
No. See, now you're going over the top with it, but congratulations, you're trying to bring my argument down.
No, but it's like I gave your argument I gave your argument props in certain situations, but
you didn't. You just said it's dumb overall.
No, I said, like, if there's a quad that a rider's not done all day and they want to follow someone off it,
okay, but
sure.
But to the point of the Anstey debate that we had earlier, this track sucked for being,
Veto. I'm joking.
No, this track sucked for being in the lead because there were so many wide open opportunities, the sand going wide, leaving the door open to triple on after the start straight, all the bull corners you had to triple out of and stuff like that. So yes, in that facet, Roczen was always a sitting duck because Webb could just block past him almost anywhere on the track, which if you're in second place, you would have the advantage of.
That's why we run the races.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. If you're Roczen, maybe you could be the one to react to it instead of getting passed again late by Cooper Webb for the 17th time.
There's absolutely no way in hell that Roczen letting Webb by.
I'm not saying let him by, but maybe start battling earlier, or I don't know.
But no. Now you're doing the classic Kellen thing of changing your argument.
I didn't say he should let him by, but maybe don't let him run you down and force you into mistakes late. Pull away.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I was just going to say that, and I didn't want to make you mad. What?
Yeah.
So the genius theory that Kellen Brauer has just come up with is go faster than the rider trying to beat you.
See, I'm just glad I got a rise out of you because I knew that coming up with this topic would get you all.
No, now you're trying. Now you're trying to save yourself
all in
with
your
some
bunch.
crazy theory. I'm just looking forward to me doing the green flag with an opening ceremonies video.
Yeah, well, that's not happening.
I don't know, Kellen.
No. All right. Big thanks, of course, to Racetech Suspension. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern to vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. And since I took forever on two topics, we're going to throw the second half of the show to Mr. Lewis Phillips.
Hi. How are you doing? How's it going for you so far?
It's okay. You're overreacting again, but that's okay.
I just would have liked honestly, Kellen, you brought a knife to a gunfight, because if you could have gone to me, Lewis, in Arlington, Dallas, Irving. What was that? Right? What was that? How do you pronounce that old Texas race? Irving. 2007. James and Chad, or Ricky and James, they let him by, and then this is how it played out because he figured this out and that, and then maybe we could have really approached that and applied it to Detroit. But in the Ricky and James era, it's too broad. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, Kellen here has taken the two obvious topics with red flag and the 450 winner. So I've had to search around a little bit because I knew.
Did I steal your topic?
No, but it never crossed my mind to talk about the red flag, Kellen. That wasn't on my list. So I had to search around. So let me start with this, and maybe this is going to be a shorter topic, I don't know. Jason Anderson has made it very clear that he wants to stay with Kawasaki beyond 2025. He's made it very clear that he sees himself racing for another, I think he said 3 years. Is this enough? Because I've seen him get a lot of praise for multiple podiums, etc., etc. But I would argue that despite the trophies masking the situation, what I've seen across 6 rounds does not, if I'm Kawasaki, fill me with the confidence I need to re-sign Anderson, because Anaheim 1, Anaheim 2, and Detroit, he could have, should have won. You frozen. Are we still recording?
You're frozen for me. Oh, now you're back. Go ahead. Sorry. Keep going.
Anaheim 1, Anaheim 2, and Detroit. The door was open for Anderson to win, contend for the win, be in the picture. Those were open doors that, admittedly, Anderson probably won't get much more of in his career. And each time he failed to capitalize, which is striking evidence, in my opinion. If I'm trying to sign, or if I'm considering re-signing Anderson for 2026, and you're his agent and you say to me, we can still win races, which, to clarify, pre-season, I actually picked Anderson as my biggest surprise, and I expected him to win multiple races. So as someone who supported him, I am dismayed that he has not made more of these open doors.
Yeah, I mean, Anderson is like maybe the most confusing situation about what you do. And I think that's a good point that you bring it up. But
thank you.
Where I kind of keep struggling with him is, what does Cowie view him as? If they view him as their number 2 rider, then this is great. Landing on the box every once in a while, mixing it up with, some heat race wins here and there, et cetera, et cetera. And then congratulations, Jorge Prado, let's go win an outdoor title. If they think that he should be winning races and winning the championship, then yeah, I think that they would consider moving on. But you would only move on if the alternative here is getting Chase Sexton or someone like that, because there's just not a lot of available talent that's going to do more than what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I
guess the internal debate at Kawasaki would be, and I don't even know if there's necessarily an answer to this, but you're right. If Anderson's the number 2 guy, this is great. Compare it to Plessinger, Hunter even. Why can't I think of other number 2 riders?
J-Coop.
That's a number 3 rider.
Okay.
But anyway, point being, in that position, it's great. But at what point do you consider Prado your number 1 rider in Supercross? And I think that's the debate, the unclear debate that Kawasaki would probably struggle to settle, because you're essentially making a bet on when Prado will come good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they viewed him at that level this year.
No. But I think that the conversation for year 2 would have been the opinions would have been a lot more scattered.
I mean, do I think Cowie wishes Jason Anderson would go win these races and battle for a championship? Sure, but I think they also wish they had a money tree in their backyard. You know,
do you think Kawasaki is surprised that Anaheim 1, Anaheim 2, Detroit, Anderson has not capitalized on one of those races? Because again, as someone who believed in Anderson pre-season, when those situations, less so Detroit, but Anaheim 1, even Anaheim 2, in my mind, I'm like, Anderson's going to win. This is it. This is the opportunity. The door's open. Detroit, we're already in a depleted field and Chase is starting last. You don't get much better chances than that. And I think Anderson started second, did he? You don't get much better chances than that. Is my point.
To answer your question, no. The only one I would maybe raise, is Tampa. Because if Malcolm Stewart can win that race, Jason Anderson should be able to win that race too. But Anaheim 1, a Supercross champion won the race. Anaheim 2, a Supercross champion won the race. And Detroit, a Supercross champion won the race. And yes, Jason Anderson is also a Supercross champion, but he lost to 3 riders that are going to go down as some of the best ever to do it in this sport. So I feel like if you're Cowie, you're like, okay, yeah, it makes sense why he maybe didn't beat Chase Sexton tonight. Okay. And it makes sense why he maybe didn't beat Cooper Webb tonight.
Am I flawed then in still thinking that Anderson can beat those riders? Because what you've just said there makes perfect sense. But I personally, prior to 2025, still believed that on certain nights, Anderson can beat those riders straight up.
Sure, on certain nights, but I just don't think that any of those specific nights, like I didn't look at maybe Anaheim 2, but I did not any other time but Anaheim 2 this year look at Anderson and go, that guy is about to win this race. Which I, in the past, through qualifying heat races, getting out front in the main event, a lot of this happened in 2022. You're like, dude, no one's beating him. He's so good. And I just haven't felt that this year.
I admit that Detroit, I'm less so. Anaheim 1 and Anaheim 2, I'm heavier on. Detroit, I didn't expect him to do much, but I certainly expected, again, Chase is last. It's Kenny, who Jason has beaten a lot, and Webb, who Jason's also beaten a fair amount, starting with him near the front. I expected more input. I didn't expect Anderson to just basically be dropped. And now, admittedly, you could also argue that East Coast is not where Anderson shines, although that wasn't the ruttiest Supercross that we've seen, you know, like it wasn't true East Coast. So there are some defense options, but I don't know. I guess my overarching argument here is the situations that Jason Anderson has found himself in this year, they don't get much better than that. And therefore, I wonder where this goes, because I don't know, A, if he gets a better situation, and B, if those situations continue to arise. And I think that it's almost eliminated the what if. Well, what if X, Y, and Z happens, Anderson can win? Well, in my mind, we've kind of had X, Y, and Z. So now there's less speculation and we've got more hard facts about where Anderson's ceiling is now as he enters the latter part of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all comes down to an interpretation of what Cowie looks at him as. I'm of the opinion that he can win a race or two. I don't necessarily still look at him as the Jason Anderson 4 or 5 years ago that can win a title. So I look at what he's doing right now as pretty solid. Could be better, but solid.
Has what's happened over the first 6 rounds caused lessened your belief that Jason Anderson can win a race or two?
No.
See, I'm a yes.
But like, again, I just go back to Anaheim 2 was the closest I feel like he's probably been. But he got ran down by Jet freaking Lawrence. You know, like, I just, you're going to have a fairly specific situation where he gets out front like that and has XY's Justin Cooper and 3 other guys like that behind him. And by the time Chase or Webb or you name it get around, he's got a big enough gap.
Okay, so this is true then. That what you've just said is true that I did or do have a higher opinion of Jason because I don't believe for him to win a race, the situation needs to be that dire.
I mean, I wouldn't call that a dire. I would just call that like specifically circumstantial that he doesn't have those guys right on him from the start. At Anaheim 2, Jet was right there. They both went around J. Coop together, more or less, for the lead. And then Jet just hawked him for another 7 minutes and then passed him. So I don't know. Like I think that in a situation where he starts out front and those guys are like third or fourth and he gets a bit of a gap established early that they just can't run him down, that he wins a race. Like I think he's still that close. Like genuinely in Detroit, he was not that far off of Webb and Roczen for pretty much the entire main event until he fell late. So like I don't know that you can look at that and go, wow, man, he's way off. Like he was 7 seconds back. You know,
I don't think way off. I just would have liked more.
Yeah, I guess. But 7 seconds back with 20 minutes into the main is not that bad.
Did he start second or am I just drunk? I mean, admittedly, there was a lot going on at that point in the night. So it's possible that he started 22nd. Fourth, on lap 1, he was fourth. But still, that's, you're in the... Yeah.
I just think Kenny and Webb were better at Detroit. I don't think you can slice it any other way. And that's fine.
He was right with... I don't know. And I'm not necessarily, again, I'm not zeroing in on Detroit specifically, but it is yet more evidence in this case that I seem to be compiling. But anyway, next topic. Do you want to do an ad?
I do. Let's talk about the Partzilla PRMX program this past weekend. Mitchell Harrison, home race, 16th in the 450 main event. Congrats to him. Jack Chambers, your buddy, 15th in the 250 East main event, and Preston Baseflug a little bit better this week. Finally got some points, 19th in that one. So they're all making the mains, and Chambers is working his way towards better results.
Okay, so 2 non-race related PRMX points.
Okay,
lovely alliteration. Tell everyone what happened on press day.
I think you're overreacting to this, but while I was interviewing Chambers, he specifically turned to Big Lou here and pointed out, I remember having a conversation with Lewis before I went to...
I need to race more to get better, and that stuck with me.
Yep, that stuck with him. Congratulations,
so there's Lewis just guiding the future talent.
Yep. We're all in your world at this point.
So
Race Day Live, Jack Chambers. I mean, the list goes on.
So thank you to PRMX for sponsoring this LVK show, but also
Partzilla sponsors.
Thank you to me for blessing Jack Chambers with this advice that has altered the path of his career and ultimately life.
Not to have a deep dive on Chambers, but just really quickly, Chambers said that he feels like he has way more in him than what he's getting results wise. Do you also believe like Jack Chambers should be like easy top 10?
Easy top 10, I don't know, but I do agree that I've always had some sort of feeling that Jack Chambers is better than he's showing. Like there's something there to me. I don't know what it is. But I've always kept an eye on Jack Chambers. I've always found his results, his lap times interesting because I do feel like there's something there.
Okay, fair enough.
Second non-related PRMX point. Press day again. I'm walking to interview Chance Hymas and Mike Bonacci of Club MX stops me and says, Lewis, I want to introduce you to Preston Baseflug.
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand why the Club MX team owner or team manager or whatever he is now, team coordinator, I don't know. The Club MX man wants to introduce me to Preston Baseflug.
I don't think Preston trains at Club, but I do know that in the past he's raced futures. And as you know, Mike B is very tight with a lot of the futures guys. And Preston's a good kid. Like, I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. And I know that Mike B gravitates towards guys like that he feels is smart and, balanced and stuff like that. So I think that maybe I would almost bet that Preston has asked Mike B for like advice on stuff in the past, and they've developed maybe a little bit of a relationship because of that. And then Mike B was wanting to introduce you to him as like hey, this is a cool guy. You should know more about him.
Okay. Well, those are 2 points that stuck out in mind for the PRMX point segment.
Okay. It's Baseflug, by the way. Everyone
what
has
did
been...
I say?
No, not you. It's been a lot of like Bose Flug or Boss Plug or something. base flug.
Did I say it right?
You said it right. I'm saying other people.
I took a stab in the dark. I had no idea. I just picked the pronunciation.
But hey, Partzilla.com is the premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. And before you start your next topic, Lewis, I just want to say, if anyone hears a dog whimpering in the background, my wife just randomly in this episode, you'll probably even see a cut at the beginning, brought a dog up here that is lost, and we're trying to find the owner. And I am the one watching this dog while we were shooting this show. So apologies for the whimpering dog if you hear it.
Or alternatively, is that a vast cover-up and alibi for the fact that Kellen has kidnapped a dog? You decide.
Yeah, congrats.
How much time do we have left? Like how many?
I genuinely think we can do 2 more topics. We took a long break at the beginning here.
Okay. So in that case, let's do a fan topic sent to Lewis on Twitter by BrettCLL775. Do you think it's time for Mitch and Pro Circuit to take the star racing approach and start poaching championship-winning riders? It's been 7 years since a Supercross title, and that's about to be 8, 5 years for an MX title. At what point do you just start over and send guys down the road? Now, I want to less so focus on the question of taking a star racing approach and more so focus on, has Pro Circuit made questionable hires? Have they left talent on the table? Have they made bad decisions, or is this just simply a luck issue?
I think I would put it mostly down to luck. I do think that the Faulkner, McAdoo, like sticking with them as long as he has, I don't want to call it a bad decision, but I think it's kind of like how many times can you go to the same well and expect a different result? And I'm not trying to knock Faulkner and McAdoo here. I think they're both very talented riders, but they hit the ground a lot, man. And like, even if they bounce up every time, like Cam seems to do, that's still a lot of times that they hit the ground, you know? Like, I think that in some regards, I kind of wish that Mitch would take a guy that is consistent and steady and work with him, you know? Like, maybe he's not but you know, like, just someone that's not a race winner per se, and build him up. But he did that with like Jordan Smith, but Jordan Smith was also crashy back then. So I don't know, like Stars leveled him out and now he's triumphant level. But like, I don't, the question that you raised here, the fan put forth, Brett, I think his name was should he poach championship winning riders? I don't think Stars poaching championship winning riders. Max Anstey has not won a title. Jordan Smith has not won a title. Like, they're just getting guys to find their maximum potential.
I don't know if I should say this, but I'll say it anyway because it's good for the discussion. When Max signed his Star contract last year, Mitch rung him the next day and said, "I just heard you've signed with Star." And Max said yes. And Mitch said, "I was going to go after you. I didn't realize you were signing that quick. Like, I've been meaning, it's been on my list to call you every day and like make you an offer or figure it out."
Yeah.
Point being, if Max went to Pro Circuit, is he doing exactly the same thing right now?
Yeah.
Without doubt?
Pretty much the exact same thing, honestly, I think.
I don't know. And I don't know if that's just...
Can I interject a point here? I think PC has made Kitchen way better, way more level, way faster, not inconsistent. I mean, yes, this year started that way, but like, no one talks about that with PC. It's always the PC curse. Levi Kitchen was 3 points away from winning this title last year.
And do you want to know what's funny? Before you mentioned Kitchen, I completely forgot he's on the team because my mind was drawn to the crashy train wreck riders.
Yeah.
Like, because that's almost become PC's reputation. So the steady, successful Kitchen doesn't enter my mind because my mind immediately goes to the negative ones, which points to a bigger issue. And I think also would make a rider, if they've got 2 options on the table very similar, go the opposite way to PC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, if you're a rider, do you genuinely look at PC and go like, "Oh, that's just bad. Like, I'm just walking into a black cloud over there." Like,
no,
should they feel that way? Like,
I'm saying if you've got Star and PC on the table. identical offers.
Yes, but also, I mean, if you have Star and PC on the table, you can look at the fact that PC brought Kitchen in and let him run his own program, and it's working great. And I think more and more guys that are going to the PC side are considering that option because they can do that. Whereas if you're at Star, like, it is very much a locked in, regimented program unless you're Hayden Deegan. So, like, I think that's, two halves here. Like, PC works for Kitchen because he was never that type of guy that liked to just be locked down and do the work and shut up and listen to what we're saying. So if you're a rider that doesn't like that, I think PC is every good as an option as that. You know what I mean?
I'm just Googling how many wins McAdoo has because I'm curious if it's a much lower number.
5 or 6, I think.
Okay. I don't know if we want to trust Wikipedia. Do we want to trust Wikipedia?
I don't know that I do.
Okay. Let's see here. Wow. No, Wikipedia was correct, and you've just proven my point. I would have said 5, 6, 7. It's 3.
3.
So when you then
so he won one last year.
Well, I'm on Racer X now, which I would trust, and it's you would know better than me. Is the bio page of Racer X updated frequently?
It's supposed to be automatically updated. Yes.
Well, no, this is like in the text, so this isn't like the.
Yeah, it says that's supposed to be automatically updated.
It says accomplishments: 2021 Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship 250 West 3rd place, 1 career Monster Energy AMA Supercross 250 West win, 2 career Monster Energy AMA Supercross East wins.
Yes, that looks correct. He won Daytona.
That shocks
Daytona
me.
2021, Arlington 2022, Indy 2024. Or his 3 wins.
I expected to be shocked, and yet that has still shocked me.
Yeah, well, you know what it is that year that he crashed in Atlanta really hard, remember? Still got the podium and hit the tunnel. Yeah. That year he went 2-1, 3, 10, 2, 3, 3 before that crash. So, like, he was always up front.
Point being, and where I was going with this, if you sat Mitch down and I had this conversation with him, do you think he also thinks that McAdoo's won more than he has? Like, do you think his defense, because his defense of McAdoo would obviously be, and this is to your point, we're kind of off track here, but your point about hanging on to McAdoo and Faulkner for too long, his defense would obviously be McAdoo can win championships, McAdoo's fast enough to win races, and if you said to him, well, how many races has he won so far? Do you think he says a higher number? Because the lure and the perception of fast, championship contending, red plate, frequently McAdoo would lead you to believe that the win total is higher than, how about this? McAdoo now has the same number of wins as Max Anstey.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's also weird. I don't think that's like Max Anstey, who's been on Firepower Honda and in MXGP.
Yeah, but Cameron McAdoo was on Moto Concepts and got a random Geico fill in and like
no, but that's not comparable because point being the McAdoo has had a lot more opportunities to win with a championship winning bike than Max, who hasn't. That's fair.
Yeah. That's fine. I just mean that, like, I think what Mitch sees in McAdoo that he likes is good or bad. Crashing, all that stuff, the kid just doesn't give up, which Mitch loves. Like, Mitch loves when guys will just do whatever it takes to go win a championship or battle for a championship. And the fact that, again, McAdoo tears his ACL and rolls up to the first round and gets 3rd, I think Mitch is like, I have to keep guys like that, because if I let him go and hire someone that doesn't work as hard or train as hard, and then he goes out there and gets 7th every week, I'm going to be pissed that I let Cam go. You know what I mean?
The next, and I don't really trust this or believe, not trust because I have no source, or this is just a hypothetical. In Europe, factory Kawasaki's new MX2 signing, EMX 250 champion, reigning, who I can't pronounce his first name, but Mattis Valin, I believe. He has swept every MX2 preseason race, beat Thibaut Benestant in France this past weekend, going 1-1. So all signs of that he's ridiculously impressive. Being French, I would presume he also wants to come to America at some point. I'm curious if this comes up on Mitch's radar, being a Kawasaki guy, and if Mitch makes a play, because maybe that's the route that we need to go here.
Yeah.
Because if you're right, if you look around the paddock in America, who else can he sign? No one really jumps out. Who would be better? So that's what. And then I thought of Vial, and then I remembered this Valen kid. So that's what. Maybe that's the play. I don't know, but I don't know. That it's been said in so many places. That doesn't seem to be what Mitch is interested in anymore, which is weird because between Anstey and Vial and others, and then look back at the success that Mitch had in the early days, or not early days, but 20 years ago with Townley and Orcel, and I believe there's someone else I want to say, but I can't remember. Maybe that's a play. It's lined up with Kawasaki.
Yeah, but I mean, when you go back to the 2000s and you do the Townley Porcel route, PC was star back then. It was clearly the obvious choice if you're going to come over to the US to have a successful career.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why Mitch needs to chase this Valen Kawasaki kid early and get there first.
I know, but I just mean from the fact that like now Star has built up a reputation of they put the best bike on the track, the most power, the most success rate when it comes to making riders successful in the whoops and doing all that kind of stuff. And they have a championship resume to back it up. And on top of that, I also think that it's actually becoming more of an appetizable thing for some guys, especially if you're coming from Europe, that you have a facility at Star to go train at. Whereas PC, it's come live in California and yeah, we got like 6 tracks, but it's not one facility and you got to drive 48 hours every day and there's traffic and you know what I mean? Like people don't love the California route and that's what PC is really hung on to. So, but I do think to your point about Euros, I think Mitch is plugged in and I think he wants those guys and I think he really would like to go after some of them. But a lot of them choose to go to Star or would prefer to go to Star. So,
well, that's what I mean. You don't give them the option. You get there first before the Star option is even on the table.
I'm pretty sure he's at Kai de Wolf's doorstep. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. The Kai de Wolf one, I think, is it strays from what has been the normal pro circuit approach in the last 10 years. And I think that maybe is a sign of like, we need to get back on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One more topic.
Was that long also? That felt long.
You went like 1 minute over time on
that felt like a long time. One more topic. How much time do we have? Should I do a stupid topic or a legit topic? Because if we've
we're
only
pretty much at like an hour right now.
Okay,
so.
well let's throw caution to the wind. Let's do a stupid topic. So I have an Am I a Dick and I have a fan topic. 2 separate things. One, fan topic from Alaska Political. So I'm not sure who that is. The president of Alaska? I don't know. What's with this trend? This is in response to me asking for questions. What's with this trend of podcasters being so damn lazy that they ask their audience to do their job for them by curating topics for their show, which is literally your only job?
It's not my only job.
That's harsh. That's hard. That's rude. I can answer that very clearly. Podcasting is meant to feel like a community. So what you do to make your listeners feel like they're a part of the show more is you get them involved. And I know, for instance, back in the day when I was like 15, I would send in questions for Tweet at Tits on Pulp, and every time my name got read out, I was amazed and was like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm sure that LVK doesn't quite have that same effect on people. But it still makes it feel like more of a community. It makes the show feel more accessible. And it also gives another point of view. Like, we didn't really tackle Brent CLL 775's question, but it gave us a nice springboard to a completely different discussion, which I thought was quite nice.
Yeah.
So it's just, why not make people involved? We don't want to put up barriers. We don't want to shut people out. We're here for we're all one. We're all fans of the sport. We all love the sport. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, Lewis.
Anyway, that was the nicest thing I've ever said. Honestly, Kellen, I am just screwing you over because there you go. Now I've just even made myself look like a nice guy compared to you.
I know, but what you fail to realize is that you once again walked around this weekend. So like
yes.
you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, and now I am going to shoot myself in the foot. Am I a dick? I was attacked in Detroit, Kellen.
Oh, mugged?
And despite the Detroit stereotypes, it was not at gunpoint. It was in the dollar rental car building. I was stood in the line, waiting for my turn. I was next in line. Just gotten off a flight, took off at 6 a.m. I was quite tired. The manager who was seeing to the customer in front of me turns to me and goes, "If you get your card and license out, we'll be with you in a second." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." Bit weird. Walk over, and she went, "Are you in a rush?" I was like, "No." "Well, we could hear you." Similar to Steve's point, maybe she's a Pulp MX listener. "Well, we could hear you breathing from here." And I was like, "Sorry?" She's like, "Yep, I thought you were in a rush because I could hear you breathing and sighing." And I was like, no, I'm just tired and cold." "Well, you don't know what cold is. This isn't even cold compared to what we have here normally."
Oh gosh.
I'm just like, ah. And then luckily I managed to pull myself up and hit back because she said, "It's not cold here unless it's below 0 degrees. It's not even below 0. I went, "Well, if you use Celsius, it is." Didn't appreciate that either. Completely disregarded it, and I was attacked. Don't know why. Don't know what I did. I was breathing.
I would not. I mean, I wasn't there again to see this, so I never can fully give a yes, you're a dick or not to this unless I'm there to see it. But yeah, the customer's always right in these situations to me. And you can't, even if your customers are upset at a long wait in line, that's their fault. Okay. You have to, when someone gets to the front of the line, and even if it's not a long wait, go, "I apologize for the wait, sir. What can we do for you today?" Or something like that. That's customer service in a nutshell.
I was tired. I was cold. I'm sure I was like maybe breathing like, I'm a mouth breather anyway, so I think that means that I make more noise than a nose breather. Didn't expect to be attacked for it. So currently trying to rebuild my life confidence and personality because it's all been attacked and torn down. So if Dollar Detroit are listening, fuck, watch your back.
Watch your back. So, but can I just ask, like, after this happened, did they like give you your car and everything was great? Yeah. Or was it like, "Oh yeah, sir, like, hold on, we're going to move to the next guy in line here." Da, da, da.
I would argue the mood, much like the weather, was icy.
I did get a lot of that this weekend in Detroit, though, of people that were from that area trying to be like, "Oh, we're macho because we're, it's cold and we don't care." Honestly, fuck off. Like, seriously, you guys choose to live in miserably cold weather like that for a long time. Don't come at people that actually like to live in good weather.
Okay. Popular or a new spin-off to Am I a Dick? Let me be a dick. So this is going to be the dickish thing I've ever said, but it really stuck with me and I wanted to raise it on here. So I'm sat in Starbucks at the airport. This guy comes up to me. "Did you race in a Supercross last night?" "No." "Oh, I just saw that you have a Vital MX bag, so thought you must have raced." "Well, how about you saw the Vital MX bag and presumed I must be media?"
Well, maybe he, but to that point, he might see Vital MX and just see MX associated with it and be like, "Oh, maybe that's a race team." I don't, not everyone knows.
Okay, it seemed like a jump. It seemed odd. But to tie this all together, a little bit of a rant. I don't know why, but every single rental car counter, everyone in front of me seems to take twice as long as I do, and I don't know what the difference is. Like this fucking Dollar thing. The two people in front of me genuinely took like 20 minutes. I was in and out in 2 minutes, and I don't see what they're doing different to me because I'm doing exactly the same thing of renting a car. Everyone at a rental car counter seems to take forever, and I don't know why. I don't know if they're exploring like, "Oh, what sort of mileage does this car get? Oh, what color? Oh, I don't like red cars. Have you got a green car?" "Yeah, we do have a green car." "Oh, now I've changed my mind. I actually want a yellow car." I don't know if they're doing that, but I can't figure out what the people are doing different to me.
Can I help you with this a little bit? Just imagine everybody that's in line in front of you like this is renting a car for the first time. Because I'm sure the first time you rented a car, you're probably like, "Okay, the protection plan. Do I need that protection plan? How about toll roads? Are there tolls here that I need to get a toll pass for?"
Every single person.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people that travel. Like, we travel all the time, so we're used to this stuff. But there's a lot of people that travel once a year, once every 3 years, and stuff like that. So, like, they probably do have questions that's why they're at the counter, asking and getting answers for.
The rental car counter people are also to blame because awfully involved. Anaheim 2 guy says to me, "Where are you going?" I'm done at this point. I've got my car. I've got everything. "Where are you going again?" "Anaheim." "I live in Anaheim." It's a little bit of a drive. Yeah, thanks. I got a sat nav, I know. What time's your flight on Sunday? Oh, I'm going back to the counter at this point. 7 a.m. Ooh. Leaving your hotel. You're probably going to want to leave an hour and a half early. Like, no, I'm not. First of all, it's 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I'm fine. I know I'm fine. I've got a sat nav. No, honestly, this genuinely. No, honestly, you are going to want to make sure that you leave that early. Thanks. I'll go now. Like, why rental car people are so involved? So involved.
They're just trying to be nice, Big Lou.
No, like I don't. No. So involved. Like, I don't get this from check-in staff or hotel staff or anywhere else. Just rental car people. So involved. Also, the dumbass at the dollar counter. So, Thrifty and Dollar are the same company, I guess, or partners or whatever.
Yeah.
So she walks up and she goes, "Who have you rented with?" And I go, "Dollar." This is mid her just berating me. She goes, "You haven't got a reservation." I went, "What?" She went, "You haven't got a reservation. You're not in a counter." And I went, "Well, let me just get my reservation number." I went, "Right, my reservation number is D." And she went, "Oh, I thought you said Thrifty. I'm looking on the Thrifty website." And it's like, well, how about instead of just insulting me, you actually just look on the correct reservation system? And anyway, there you go. There, I'm done for this week.
Okay, congrats. I think you should rent with Hertz because you don't even have to ever go to the counter. No, I don't ever have to go to a counter for Hertz. I just pick a car.
But I don't have account. I don't have an account with anyone.
You should. What you travel every week? You don't have an account with a.
It's a vital thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Goddamn. All right. So that's our show. Yeah, a little bit of a long one today, but a lot of stuff to talk about from Detroit. And yeah, I'm not going to Arlington, so I'll miss you this weekend, buddy. But I hope you and Big Steve and Big Darkside and Big Lou, it's all just a big soiree.
Wow. Okay.
You excited for Arlington though? Triple Crown?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great.
Really feeds into the fact that we started this show by saying these championship fights are great. We should be excited. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. I hope, my one wish is that Davies and Roczen win, because then we can say we've had 13 winners in 14 main events, which would just be insane.
Possible. Or your guy Anderson gets a win this weekend.
Well, some of us have been calling it since the start of the season.
Yep. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Big shout out Leatt, Namura, Racetech, Partzilla, everyone for backing the show. And yeah, we'll see you guys after Arlington to recap and preview Daytona.